My name is Emily Carter, and until last October, I never believed in ghosts. I'm 27 years old and work as a travel vlogger based in Denver, Colorado. My channel is built around exploring abandoned places, forgotten towns, and locations people claim are haunted. Over the past 5 years, I've spent nights inside abandoned hospitals, empty prisons, and decaying hotels. Every investigation ended the same way. Nothing. No ghosts. No demons. Just old buildings, strange noises, and people who wanted to believe. That's exactly why I accepted the challenge that changed my life forever. It started with an email. There was no sender's name, no subject line, just one sentence. If you really want to know what fear feels like, spend one night alone inside the Villisca Axe Murder House. But whatever happens, don't stay after 3:03 a.m. I laughed. It sounded like a cheap marketing stunt. Then the exact same message appeared in my Instagram inbox. An hour later, someone posted those exact words under my latest YouTube video. 3 different places. 3 identical messages. That wasn't a coincidence. Curiosity has always been my biggest weakness. 3 days later, I was driving through the quiet streets of Villisca, Iowa. The town felt frozen in time. Small wooden houses lined the streets. Almost nobody was outside. Even the wind seemed unusually quiet. I stopped at a small cafe before heading to the house. The elderly owner smiled as he poured my coffee. Passing through, he asked, "I'm filming the Villisca Axe Murder House tonight." The smile disappeared from his face. He slowly placed the coffee cup in front of me. "You shouldn't stay there after 3. I smiled politely. "You actually believe those stories?" He looked directly into my eyes. "I've lived here for 60 years. Then he whispered, "People who ignore the warning usually leave with something following them." A chill ran down my spine. Not because I believed him, because he looked completely serious. An hour later, I parked outside the house. The building looked smaller than I expected. Old white wooden walls, dark windows, a front porch that creaked even though there wasn't any wind. I grabbed my camera, checked my batteries, and started recording. "Hey everyone, Emily here. Tonight, I'm spending the entire night inside one of America's most famous haunted houses. Let's find out if the legends are true." I unlocked the front door. The moment I stepped inside, the temperature dropped. It wasn't just cold. It felt wrong. The air was heavy, almost impossible to breathe. I convinced myself it was just my imagination. For the next 2 hours, everything was normal. I filmed every bedroom, every hallway, every staircase. Nothing happened. By 11:47 p.m., I was beginning to think this would be another disappointing investigation. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Coming from the second floor. I froze. The house was supposed to be empty. I whispered to my camera. "Did you hear that?" The footsteps stopped. Silence. I slowly climbed the stairs. Every step beneath my feet groaned loudly. At the end of the hallway, one bedroom door stood slightly open. I pushed it gently. Inside sat an old wooden rocking chair. It was moving, back and forth, very slowly. There were no open windows, no breeze, nothing that could have moved it. I lifted my camera to get a closer shot. That's when I saw her. A little girl, standing silently beside the chair. She wore a faded white dress. Her long black hair covered most of her face. She wasn't moving. She was just watching me. My heart nearly stopped. I lowered the camera and looked directly at the corner. Nothing. The room was empty. I raised the camera again. The little girl was back, still staring, without blinking. Then, my camera screen suddenly went black. At that exact moment, a little girl's voice echoed from somewhere downstairs. Soft, calm, clear enough to make my blood run cold. "Emily." I couldn't breathe, because I had never told anyone my name, and I was completely alone inside the house. I stood frozen in the doorway, every muscle in my body refusing to move. The little girl's voice echoed through the house one more time. "Emily." It wasn't loud. It was almost gentle. But somehow, that made it even more terrifying. I looked down at my camera screen. The battery had suddenly dropped from 83% to 2%. That had never happened before. Okay, I whispered to myself. There has to be a logical explanation. I switched to my backup camera and started recording again. The rocking chair had stopped moving. The little girl was gone. The room was completely empty. I slowly backed into the hallway. That's when I heard another sound. A door slammed shut downstairs. Bang! The noise shook the entire house. I rushed to the staircase and pointed my flashlight toward the first floor. Nothing. Every light I had set up downstairs was still on. Everything looked normal. Too normal. I carefully walked downstairs, trying not to make any noise. As soon as I reached the living room, I noticed something strange. The front door was wide open. I knew I had locked it. I clearly remembered hearing the deadbolt click. Cold air poured into the house. Very funny, I called out. If someone's hiding here trying to scare me, the prank is over. No answer. Only silence. I stepped outside and searched around the porch with my flashlight. No footprints. No parked cars. No signs that anyone had been there. I locked the door again. This time, I pushed against it twice to make sure it couldn't open. Midnight arrived. The atmosphere inside the house changed. The air became colder. The silence became heavier. Even my own breathing sounded unnaturally loud. Then my phone vibrated. No signal. Yet somehow, I had received a text message. Unknown number. I opened it. There was only one sentence. Don't look out the window. A chill shot through my entire body. Slowly. Almost against my own will. I turned toward the living room window. The glass reflected my flashlight. Nothing else. I took one step closer. Still nothing. Then another vibration. Another message. It's too late. The lights suddenly went out. Every single one. Darkness swallowed the room. My flashlight flickered before turning back on. Its weak beam landed directly on the window. This time, someone was standing outside. A woman. She wore an old-fashioned white dress stained with dirt. Her face was unnaturally pale. She wasn't blinking. She wasn't breathing. She simply stared at me with empty black eyes. I gasped and swung the flashlight toward the front door. Less than a second later, I pointed it back at the window. She was gone. My heartbeat pounded in my ears. No, this isn't real. I grabbed the door handle, ready to leave. It wouldn't move. I pulled harder. Locked. Impossible. I had the key in my hand. The lock turned. But the door refused to open. Then, a loud child's laugh echoed upstairs. One laugh. Then another. Then dozens. It sounded as if an entire group of children were running across the second floor. Footsteps thundered above me. Running from one room to another. The ceiling trembled. Dust drifted down around me. I lifted my flashlight toward the stairs. The footsteps stopped instantly. Silence. Complete silence. Then, one slow creak. A single figure appeared at the top of the staircase. It was the same little girl. Except this time, she slowly lifted her head and smiled. Her smile stretched impossibly wide. Far wider than any human face ever could. I couldn't move. The little girl's impossible smile was burned into my mind. Every instinct told me to run. But my legs refused to obey. I blinked once. Just once. When I opened my eyes again, she was gone. The staircase was empty. No, I whispered. That's impossible. I swept my flashlight across every corner of the hallway. Nothing. No footsteps. No shadows. No little girl. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. This place is getting inside my head. Suddenly, my camera powered on by itself. I knew I had turned it off. The screen lit up without me touching it. The red recording light flashed. Rec. I stared at the display. My blood turned to ice. The screen showed me standing in the hallway. But I wasn't alone. Right behind me stood the little girl. She was only a few inches away. I spun around. Nobody. The hallway was empty. I slowly looked back at the camera. She was still there. Watching me. Smiling. Without blinking. My hands began to shake so badly that I nearly dropped the camera. Then the speaker crackled. Static. A whisper followed. Emily. The voice sounded like a child. So lonely. I froze. The voice wasn't coming from the hallway. It was coming from inside the camera. The screen suddenly filled with heavy static. The image disappeared. Then another picture slowly faded in. It wasn't Liv anymore. It looked like an old home movie. A frightened family huddled together inside a bedroom. A father. A mother. Several young children. They looked terrified, as if they were hiding from someone. Then, footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Getting closer. The bedroom door creaked open. Nobody appeared. Only darkness. A loud metallic scrape echoed through the room. Then, thud. A sharp scream shattered the silence. Another scream followed. The children cried for help. The recording abruptly stopped. The screen went black. I dropped the camera onto the floor. My heart pounded so hard I thought I was having a heart attack. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Not on the first floor. Not outside. Directly above me. Someone was walking across the second floor. Slowly. Deliberately. One step at a time. Thump. 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 Dust drifted from the ceiling with every step. I couldn't stay any longer. I ran toward the front door. I unlocked it. Turned the handle. Pulled as hard as I could. It wouldn't open. It felt as though someone on the other side was holding it shut. I slammed my shoulder into it. Nothing. Again. Nothing. Panic began taking over. Then, the old grandfather clock in the living room suddenly started chiming. Dong. 1. Dong. 2. Dong. 3. I checked my phone. 2:58 a.m. 5 minutes. Only 5 minutes until 3:03. The old man at the cafe flashed through my mind. Whatever happens, don't stay after 3:03 a.m. My breathing became faster. Then every door inside the house slowly creaked open at the exact same time. Bedroom doors. Closet doors. Cabinets. Even the attic hatch. The sound echoed through the house like dozens of voices whispering together. Creak. 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 Then the little girl's voice returned. This time she wasn't alone. Dozens of children spoke together in perfect unison. Emily. It's almost. 3. 3. The lights flickered violently. My flashlight died. The house fell into complete darkness. Then, somewhere just inches behind me, I felt the warm breath of someone whisper into my ear. Don't let them find you. The whisper sent a shock through my entire body. I spun around so fast that I nearly lost my balance. Nobody. The hallway behind me was completely empty. My flashlight was still dead. The only light came from the moon shining through the old windows. My breathing echoed through the house. I checked my phone again. 3:01 a.m. 2 minutes. I had only 2 minutes before 3:03. I forced myself to stay calm. There has to be another way out. I searched every room on the first floor. The back door wouldn't open. Every window was stuck shut. It felt as if the entire house was trapping me inside. Then, I heard children crying. Very softly. The sound came from upstairs. I knew I shouldn't go back. Every part of me wanted to run. But something about those cries felt real. Like someone needed help. Against my better judgment, I climbed the stairs. Each step groaned beneath my feet. The crying became louder. It led me to the smallest bedroom in the house. The door was already open. Inside, I found something I hadn't seen before. An old wooden music box sat in the middle of the floor. It slowly opened by itself. A tiny ballerina began turning. Soft music filled the room. Then the melody suddenly stopped. A child's voice whispered from behind me. You came. I turned instantly. The little girl stood only a few feet away. For the first time, I could see her face clearly. She couldn't have been older than 8. Her white dress was stained with dark patches. Her eyes were filled with sadness. Not anger. Not hatred. Sadness. She slowly raised one finger and pointed toward the closet. They're still here, she whispered. Before I could ask what she meant, every light in the room exploded. Glass shattered across the floor. The temperature dropped so fast that I could see my breath. Then, something slammed against the closet door. Once, twice, 3 times. Bang, bang, bang. The entire room shook. The little girl never looked away from the closet. "They know you're here," she whispered. The pounding grew louder. Cracks spread across the wooden door. Something was trying to get out. I backed toward the hallway. My heart was racing. Suddenly, my phone alarm went off by itself. 3:03 a.m. At that exact second, everything went silent. The pounding stopped. The crying stopped. Even the wind outside disappeared. The silence lasted only a moment. Then every closet door, every bedroom door, every cabinet burst open at once. A deafening scream filled the entire house. Not one voice. Hundreds. I dropped to my knees and covered my ears. The little girl looked directly into my eyes. For the first time, she smiled. But it wasn't the terrifying smile from before. It was the smile of someone who had finally found hope. Then she said 5 words that changed everything. "You're not here by accident." And before I could respond, a dark figure slowly stepped out of the broken closet behind her. Its eyes opened, and they were staring directly at me. I couldn't breathe. The figure standing inside the broken closet wasn't human. It was over 7 feet tall. Its body was unnaturally thin, wrapped in what looked like black smoke instead of skin. Its arms hung almost to the floor. Where its face should have been, there was only darkness. 2 glowing white eyes slowly opened. They never blinked. They simply stared at me. Every instinct screamed at me to run. But I couldn't move. The little girl stepped in front of me. For the first time since I entered the house, she wasn't looking at me. She was looking at the creature. "You can't have her," she said. Her voice no longer sounded like a frightened child. It was calm, confident. The creature tilted its head. Then it spoke. Its voice sounded like hundreds of people whispering at once. She came willingly. The room became freezing cold. Ice began forming on the windows. The walls started shaking. The creature took one slow step forward. The little girl didn't move. Instead, she reached into her pocket and pulled out a small silver locket. She placed it in my trembling hand. "Don't lose this," she whispered. "It's the only thing that remembers the truth." Before I could ask what she meant, she pushed me backward. The bedroom door slammed shut between us. I heard her scream. Then the creature roared. The entire house shook violently. Pictures crashed from the walls. Glass shattered downstairs. I grabbed the doorknob and tried to open it. Locked. "No!" I shouted. "Open the door." There was no answer. Only silence. Then, my camera, lying on the hallway floor, suddenly turned on by itself. The screen displayed old security footage. The date caught my attention immediately. June 10th, 1912. The night of the Villisca murders. The footage showed shadowy figures moving through the house. Then one figure stopped and slowly turned toward the camera. My heart nearly stopped. It wasn't a stranger. It looked exactly like me. Same face, same eyes, same jacket. I stared in disbelief. "That's impossible." The woman in the footage slowly smiled. Then she spoke directly into the camera. "I've been waiting for you, Emily." The recording ended. At that exact moment, the bedroom door burst open. The little girl was gone. The dark creature had vanished. The room was completely empty, except for one thing. Written across the wall in fresh, dripping red letters were the words, "The house never chose the wrong person." A sudden crash echoed from the attic. Heavy footsteps began running above me. Not one pair. Dozens. Coming straight toward the attic stairs. Then, someone began laughing. It sounded exactly like my own voice. The laughter stopped as suddenly as it had begun. Silence filled the house once again. But it wasn't peaceful. It felt like the entire building was waiting for me to make the next move. Then I heard it again. My own voice. "Emily." It came from the attic. "I've been waiting for you." I slowly looked up. The attic door, which had been closed all night, was now hanging open. A narrow wooden ladder creaked as if someone had just climbed it. Every instinct told me not to go. But something stronger pulled me toward it. I grabbed my camera with one hand and the silver locket with the other. Taking a deep breath, I climbed the ladder. The attic was covered in dust. Broken furniture, old trunks, and torn family photographs were scattered everywhere. The air smelled damp and rotten. I swept my flashlight across the room. Nothing. Then my light landed on an old wooden mirror standing against the far wall. At first, I only saw my reflection. Dirty face. Tired eyes. Shaking hands. Then, my reflection smiled. I didn't. I froze. The woman inside the mirror slowly tilted her head. "So," she whispered, "you finally came back." I stepped away from the mirror. My reflection didn't. She remained exactly where she was, smiling. Then she lifted one hand. A second later, I felt an invisible hand wrap around my throat. I couldn't breathe. My feet left the floor. The camera slipped from my fingers. It hit the ground, but it kept recording. The silver locket suddenly grew warm in my hand. So warm it almost burned my skin. The chain snapped open by itself. Inside was a tiny photograph. It showed the little girl, standing beside a woman. The woman looked exactly like the figure in the mirror. Before I could understand what I was seeing, the mirror shattered. Thousands of pieces exploded across the attic. The invisible force released me. I crashed onto the floor, gasping for air. Then I heard the little girl's voice one last time. "Emily, you have to remember." Before I could answer, memories flooded my mind. Not my memories. Someone else's. I saw the house over 100 years ago. The frightened family. The screaming children. The shadow that walked through the halls. Then I saw something impossible. A young woman stood in the attic holding the same silver locket. She turned toward me. It was me. Or someone who looked exactly like me. She whispered. "We never escaped." The vision disappeared. The attic became silent again. Then I noticed something carved into the wooden floor beneath the broken mirror. It wasn't old. It looked fresh. Someone had carved a single sentence with a knife. "Every soul returns." At that exact moment, my phone vibrated. For the first time all night, it had a signal. A new message appeared. Unknown number. I opened it. There was only one line. "Look outside the window." Slowly, I turned toward the attic window. Standing in the front yard was me, holding a camera, smiling, and staring directly up at the attic. I stumbled backward, unable to believe what I was seeing. The woman standing outside was me. Same face, same clothes, same camera hanging from her shoulder. She slowly raised one hand and waved. A cold chill rushed through my body. "This isn't real," I whispered. "It can't be." Then my phone rang. The screen displayed my own name. Emily Carter. My hands trembled as I answered. "Hello." For several seconds, there was only static. Then I heard my own voice. Not similar. Exactly my voice. "You have less than 5 minutes." I couldn't speak. "What? Who are you?" The voice sighed. "I'm the Emily who never escaped." The call ended. At that exact moment, the version of me outside smiled wider than any human should. Then she slowly walked toward the front door. I ran downstairs as fast as I could. When I reached the entrance, the door opened by itself. She stepped inside. Everything around us became silent. We stood only a few feet apart. Looking into her face felt like staring into a mirror. Except, her eyes were completely black. "You shouldn't have come," she said softly. "I didn't have a choice." She laughed. "Oh, you did." She slowly lifted my missing backpack. The one I had lost earlier that night. "I've been keeping this safe." She unzipped it. Inside was something that made my blood freeze. My driver's license. My passport. My car keys. Everything I had brought with me. But each item was old. Covered in dust. As if they had been sitting there for decades. I looked at the expiration date on my driver's license. My hands began shaking uncontrollably. It wasn't 2026. It had expired. In 1948. No, that's impossible. The other Emily stepped closer. You still think you came here tonight? She smiled sadly. But you've been trapped in this house much longer than you remember. Suddenly, memories flashed through my mind. Driving toward Villisca. Receiving the mysterious email. Walking through the front door. Then, the same night repeating again. And again. And again. Each time ending before 3:03 a.m. Each time I forgot everything and started over. Tears filled my eyes. How many times? The other Emily looked away. I stopped counting after 100. The entire house began shaking violently. Walls cracked. Windows shattered. The little girl's voice echoed through every room. Hurry! She's waking up. The other Emily's expression changed instantly. Fear. Real fear. She grabbed my arm. If you want to leave, you have to break the cycle. Then she placed the silver locket back into my hand. Go to the basement. Before I could ask why, a deafening scream erupted from beneath the floorboards. The entire house went dark, and something enormous began climbing the basement stairs. The entire house shook as the basement door slowly creaked open. A thick cloud of black smoke poured into the hallway. The temperature dropped so fast that I could see my breath. Then, it appeared. The same towering creature I had seen before. Except now, it was bigger. Its body scraped against the ceiling as it climbed the stairs. Its glowing white eyes locked onto mine. You cannot leave, it whispered. Its voice echoed through every room. The other Emily stepped in front of me. You have to finish what I couldn't. She placed the silver locket around my neck. The little girl suddenly appeared beside the creature. For the first time, she wasn't afraid. She looked directly at me. Open it, she said. I opened the silver locket. Inside, the tiny photograph had changed. It was no longer a picture. It was a small folded piece of paper. My hands shook as I unfolded it. Only one sentence was written inside. Speak their names, and they will be free. Suddenly, memories flooded my mind. The names. The family. Every victim. I somehow knew them all. With tears in my eyes, I began speaking each name aloud. One by one. As the final name left my lips, the entire house exploded with light. The creature let out a horrifying scream. Its body cracked apart like shattered glass. Dark smoke filled the air before disappearing forever. The silence that followed felt different. Peaceful. The little girl smiled. A real smile this time. Thank you, she whispered. Then she slowly faded away. One by one, the spirits of the children appeared around her. They smiled, waved goodbye, and vanished into the light. The house stopped shaking. The front door slowly opened by itself. Morning sunlight streamed inside. For the first time all night, I could hear birds singing. I walked outside. The fresh air filled my lungs. Police officers rushed toward me. One of them asked, "Ma'am, are you okay?" I nodded. I think so. Another officer looked confused. We've been searching for you all night. I frowned. I've only been inside for a few hours. The officer slowly shook his head. No, ma'am. You disappeared 3 days ago. My heart stopped. I looked back at the house. It stood completely silent, as if nothing had ever happened. Months later, I uploaded the footage to my YouTube channel. Millions of people watched it. Most called it fake. Some said it was edited. Others laughed. No one believed me. Until one night, a subscriber emailed me. The message contained only one sentence. I saw the little girl standing behind you in your final video. I opened the video again. Paused on the last frame. Standing in the upstairs window, watching me leave, was the little girl. Still smiling.